Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Anthony Basford, Chief Executive Officer at East Gippsland Shire Council, and I will chair the meeting until a new mayor is elected. I would now like to declare this meeting open and welcome you all to the meeting to elect the next mayor and deputy mayor, if council, that is, resolve to have a deputy mayor, and we'll come to that later, for the East Gippsland Shire Council. And I'd also like to particularly welcome those who are joining us online, because as we all know, unfortunately due to COVID restrictions, we're unable to have people in the chamber. So it's pleasing that we're able to still allow the community to see the election of the mayor and deputy mayor. East Gippsland Shire Council live streams, records and publishes its meetings via webcasting. These recordings are available by viewing by the public and may be publicly shared by council. No other person has the right to record council meetings unless approval has been granted by the chair. In line with the Local Government Act 2020, councillors are able to attend council meetings electronically or in person, and the meetings will be open to the public via live streaming. Members of the public are invited to view the live stream council meeting by following the link on council's website. So hopefully if you're watching this, you've already found the link and to the website. If council encounters technical difficulties with live streaming during the meeting, we will adjourn until the issue is resolved. If technical issues can't be resolved, the meeting may be postponed to a later time or date. East Gippsland Shire Council acknowledges the Gunai Kurnai, Monero and Bidawal people as the traditional custodians of this land that encompasses East Gippsland Shire and their enduring relationship with country. The traditional custodians have cared and nurtured East Gippsland for tens of thousands of years. Council value their living culture and practices and their right to self-determination. Council pays respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people living in East Gippsland, their elders past, present and future. For the online attendee, Councillor Buckley, I just have to go through the usual confirmations. A councillor's attendance can be recorded as present at a council meeting when a member can confirm that they meet all of the following criteria. They can hear proceedings, they can see other members in attendance and can be seen by other members, they can be heard. I will now confirm with Councillor Buckley that she can see and hear us.
Yes, I can, thank you, CEO.
And can confirm that the location you are participating from is secure and to ensure confidentiality if required for items dealt with in a confidential manner.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. Councillors, I'm not aware of any apologies tonight and we seem to have everyone in attendance. I would like to acknowledge the attendance of Jason Hallier, the Audit and Risk Committee Chair. I will now call for any declarations of conflicts of interest. Do any councillors have a conflict of interest on any matter on the agenda? The next council meeting, I see none. The next council meeting will be Tuesday the 16th of November to be held at the Corporate Centre, 273 Main Street, Bairnsdale, commencing at 6 p.m. Before the election of the Mayor, Section 26(3) of the Local Government Act requires that a council must determine by resolution whether the Mayor is to be elected for 1 or 2 years. In addition, the election for the next Mayor is to be held on the day that is close to the end of the term as resolved in the meeting as reasonably practicable. Councillors, there is a recommendation in the agenda and I need a motion for 1 or 2 year term. Do I have a motion, councillors? Councillor Stowe.
Thank you. I'd like to move that we have a 1 year term, please.
Thank you, Councillor Stowe. Do I have a seconder? I think Councillor Uri's hand was up first. Councillor Uri, is happy to second it? Thank you. So, councillors, we have a motion that council resolves to determine that the term of office of the Mayor will be for 1 year term. Can I have a show of hands, please? Who is for? Thank you, that is carried. There's a few items here that I will read through, so excuse me as I read them to make sure I get all the matters correct. Under section 25 of the Act, any councillor is eligible for election or re-election to the office of Mayor. The role of Mayor, as outlined in section 18 of the Act, the Local Government Act, is to chair council meetings, be the principal spokesperson for the council, lead engagement within the municipal community on the development of the council plan, report to the municipal community at least once each year on the implementation of the council plan, promote behaviour among councillors that meets the standards of conduct set out in the Councillor Code of Conduct, assist councillors to understand their role, takes a leadership role in ensuring the regular review of the performance of the Chief Executive Officer, provides advice to the Chief Executive Officer when the Chief Executive Officer is setting the agenda for council meetings, and performs civic and ceremonial duties on behalf of the council. Further, in section 19 of the Act, the Mayor has the following specific powers: to appoint a councillor to be the chair of a delegated committee, to direct a councillor subject to any procedures or limitations specified in the governance rules, to leave a council meeting if the behaviour of the councillor is preventing the council from conducting its business, to require the Chief Executive Officer to report to the council on the implementation of a council decision. Section 25 of the Act stipulates that the Mayor must be elected by an absolute majority of the councillors. The Act defines the absolute majority as the number of councillors which is greater than half the total number of councillors of a council. Therefore, to be declared the Mayor, a nominee must receive 5 votes or more. In the event that an absolute majority is not received, Council may, under section 25 of the Act, resolve to conduct a new election at a later time and date to be determined by Council. The election of the Mayor will be conducted in accordance with Rule 5 of the East Gippsland Shire Council Governance Rules. If there are more than 2 candidates and no candidate receives an absolute majority, the candidate with the fewest votes will be eliminated. The remaining candidates will be put to the vote again. The process will continue until there are 2 candidates. The candidate with the absolute majority will be declared successful. All voting will be by show of hands. There is no secret ballot allowed. I will be calling for nominations now, and as a guide, councillors may nominate themselves, and nominations do not require a seconder. I'll now call for nominations. Do I have any nominations? Councillor Gresham.
I, Councillor Greason, nominate Councillor Mark Reeves, for the position of Mayor of East Gippsland Shire Council. Do you want me to say that again?
Why not?
I, Councillor Greason, nominate Councillor Mark Reeves for the position of Mayor of East Gippsland Shire Council.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Reeves, do you accept the nomination?
CEO, yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank
you, Councillor.
Are there any more nominations? Councillor Van Diggle.
I, Councillor Van Diggle, nominate Councillor White for the position of Mayor of East Gippsland Shire Council.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor White, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, Mr CEO, I do accept that, and I appreciate very much Councillor Van Diggle's nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor White. I will now, I should say, my apologies, I should ask further, are there any further nominations? There being none, we'll move to the next section. I'll now invite each nominated councillor in order of nomination to speak on the mayoral position. I advise that each councillor consistent with the governance rules, will have 5 minutes to speak, and I've asked the General Manager of Business Excellence to monitor the time. The speech should focus on councillors' reason for seeking the mayoralship. The speakers are in order of nomination. So our first speaker will be Councillor Reeves. Councillor Reeves.
Thanks, CEO. Councillor Greason, thank you so much for your nomination. It's very kind and humbling. I really feel incredibly honoured to be in this position and hopefully a worthy candidate. Councillors, the position of Mayor carries great responsibilities and privileges. I view both of these with sincerity and gravity. The Mayor position is first among equals, carries no more or less voting capacity and influence around this table than any of us. And yet, it is the position that represents the councillor group, the community and our shire. How amazing. That's how amazing and wonderful democracy is. Councillors, I think it's a great time to be in regional Victoria and in particular East Gippsland. It's a time of optimism. And we're an optimistic people and I'm optimistic. I see great times ahead and this council group can lead with enthusiasm and vision our community. A vision that reflects that optimism. Optimism is our council vision as an inclusive and innovative community that values our natural environment, puts community at the centre of council decision making and creates the conditions in which the community can thrive. So we don't survive, we thrive. We thrive after fire, drought, more fires, flood, COVID. And our community looks to that future with a positive and optimistic view. And that's the Aussie way, and that's the Gippsland way. And I see our community looking for positive and optimistic leadership from their community leaders like us. When we think about it, home starts, home sales, cattle sales, rebuilds, caravan sales, regional translocation, school builds, bridge builds, capital works in national parks, mountain bike parks and tracks, snowy river rebuilds, bridge rebuilds, aqua parks in lakes entrance. All of these point to a future that is positive and full of opportunity and optimism. And that future is just over there, and that's where we're heading with pride and enthusiasm. And as Mayor Councillors, I hope I can continue to bring that sense of optimism and strong positive representation into this group and to the community, both at small and at large, close and afar. It's my vision to be able to help unite this group of councillors under that common theme, that common vision, and for us to work together towards that. Whether it's being able to have that voice in Spring Street, on One Gippsland, with our state and federal members, our upper and lower house members, we can be that representative and be that voice together. And a voice is important, but so is listening. We need to have an empathetic ear and heart. We need to be kind to each other and listen to those who take time to say what is important, maybe because they're challenged, because of their diversity, because we are a community that is dispersed and it's a bit older and we need to listen harder to some. But we're also aspirational. It's a region where we want our young people to stay, to be educated to a world standard, to have a career, to be able to grow wealthy, to have children and to be able to return with ongoing sustainable and engaging and well-paying jobs. World-class jobs, not second fiddle or second best because we're regional, but better because we're regional. That's what we want. And we're a shire in transition and challenged by disruptive changes in the older extractive industries. I'm an advocate of the amazing work being undertaken in Orbost with smart specialisation. And we can do more for vulnerable members of our community, older, younger, less employed or underemployed, underhoused or less homed, sick, culturally and linguistically diverse, our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander and Koori communities, people of all abilities, LGBTIQA plus communities. Councillors, when we strive to make a community that's better for our most vulnerable members and accessible for them, we make it better for everyone. We make it a place to thrive for everyone like we have in our council vision. A community that's safe, accessible and fair is a better community for everyone. Bushfire and emergency recovery has become thrivability. And councillors, I want to tap into that power and spirit in this council group, unifying our diverse views and values for making for better and more enduring decisions. I want to be able to be a unifying mayor who can help bring out the best in you, in us, our staff, our shire, our business and our community. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Reeves. Councillor White, you have an opportunity to speak now.
Thank you, Mr. CEO, but my speech may be in breach of what you've just described, that I can actually not speak about others. Is that the full?
So, Councillor White, my view would be that this is about the election of the mayor, and the content of any speech should be around why you wish to be elected as mayor and what you would effectively do as mayor in that position. There are other avenues for matters that may or may not fall outside of that scope. I'll have to leave that with you to determine whether you think that's appropriate or not.
It may not come together with pieces not spoken of, but I have some real worries about the choice of mayor, and so I've written about it, but I will just speak to the few items I've written about myself. I don't like talking about myself, but so I'll try. But there are a couple of things in there that I think should be noted, and they're not about anybody. It's just about what we have dealt with in the last 12 months in terms of issues that have come before the council. So I will do my best to rejig these scrappy notes that I've already prepared, something I did prepare earlier. So I come to you with experience and knowledge of issues affecting both any and all ratepayers and residents, with the ability to produce outcomes. I can be the face of council without hidden agendas, as you have seen in the past, and I certainly will not use the office of mayor for political or personal gain. In the period before when I was mayor, and it's in the council report for that period, through absolute persistence, never wanting to give in, 4,000 businesses have received benefits from the government to support them, as they were, I thought, wrongly left out of the grant system. So that 4,000 businesses represents those in East Gippsland, but I firmly believe that has probably gone further, as other councils that were affected by the fires have probably received now the same grant system. We had the situation where in the beginning you actually had to have been, your business had to be burnt before you received any benefit. So that I'm pleased with that outcome. The other thing of recent times was the fact that there was a lot of trouble around the getting assistance for reintroducing the water infrastructure scheme. It was a drought initiative that was put aside by the government, and so I provided assistance with others, working with government to bring back that water infrastructure support for both East Gippsland and Wellington Shires, and that has only just happened recently. I suppose we may have a deputy mayor, but I just worry about the and I hope I'm not stepping across the line here, but I just with Councillor Reeves' commitments, I wonder how he will resolve his issues with his job as a public servant and then the position of mayor. Like it's a lot of work, and there's only 7 days in the week, which, you know, if I was elected, I could certainly commit to that workload as I have before. So really I've got to skip over a fair bit here. So I've got to, that couldn't possibly be 5 minutes.
Your 5 minutes would have started at the start when you were explaining what you were going to do. However, John, if you could perhaps finish up on what you were wanting to say. So I think you've got a little bit of leeway because you were seeking some clarification at the start, but I think it's appropriate that that's a shorter rather than longer time.
So I'd just ask, can council take risks to its reputation and standing in the community, and what would be our fallback position if you know, that another person as mayor could perhaps not commit fully to the position. So I'd ask you all to reconsider your position as I've outlined the risks to council and its reputation, and as mayor previously, my empathy and support for community was never questioned. This empathy and support for community is still alive and well today, as it always has been. So thank you, councillors, and I look forward to your support.
Thank you, Councillor White. Councillors, as we have received more than one nomination, I will conduct a vote to determine the mayor. I will state each councillor's name in the order of the nomination and ask councillors to indicate their vote by a show of hands. Those in favour of Councillor Reeves, please raise your hands. Those in favour of Councillor White, please raise your hands. Based on those votes, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Reeves for the position of Mayor. Congratulations. And I will hand over the chair.
Thank you, councillors. Councillors, we're moving on to item 4, which is the election of Deputy Mayor. So we're into procedural matters now, Mr CEO, and I will follow the running sheet. Is that correct?
Mayor, there is an opportunity for you if you wish to say a few words, and there's also an opportunity if others would like to say any words about your election. So there's that opportunity to do that, if you so wish.
Thanks, Anthony. There's an old standing joke in local government that you never get between a mayor and a microphone. So I would like to say a few things. So firstly, thank you. Thank you for the vote of confidence, and thank you for allowing me to have this privilege of being here tonight. And thank you, John, for also accepting the nomination. It really is such an honour to be here. And I want to start by paying my respects to the traditional owners of the lands and waters that we encompass our shire, and in particular councillors that we're meeting on Gunai-Kurnai lands and waters here in this part of East Gippsland. And I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging of the Australian Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community, in particular Gunai-Kurnai community. And I acknowledge that enduring connection to land, water, language, culture, people and place. It's amazing. Thank you, councillors, for your vote of confidence and support in my nomination. I'm really humbled. To our outgoing mayor, may I acknowledge the outstanding work of the last 12 months. Mendy, you're eloquent, kind, clever, sincere, quick-minded and fair. You've been a great mayor for this first year of this new council. And thank you for handing over the position in such great condition. And it sounds funny, but I've always taken the view that the position of mayor belongs to the community, and the person who sits in that role is really the custodian. You don't actually own it, you just look after it for that period and hand it over to the next person. And I'm sure we all agree that you've looked after that role very well indeed. A group of elected representatives like us, councillors, thrown together from the democratic process that we value and is envied in the free world, will always create challenges and opportunities. And there's no doubt that there's a process that many of you are familiar of called forming, norming, storming, performing. Some of you might have heard that. It's a long-held group process, and I think that we as a councillor group have really been through that whole process. And I think in recent times I have seen that we have the ability to really perform. And we've been through those forming, storming and norming times. And I hope that I can continue to be the person that continues that performance. And the role of mayor is also demanding, and the sudden and binary finish of that role can be both relieving and alarming. So, Mendy, look after yourself, and thank you for handing over those reins in such good order. And to the councillor group, I've really enjoyed the challenges and the strengths that a diverse group of people like us has brought into the chamber. And we know that a monocultural approach will never bring sustainable outcomes or decisions, and the differences and divergences, similarities and convergence that we have brought better outcomes, even though at times the process might have seemed a little bit bumpy or unduly long. I think it's even more evident that divergence and difference has to bring mutual respect, and this fundamental element is a keystone of the bridge that holds up democracy. We may not always agree, and I'm glad we don't, but I think we've learned to be gentler on each other in the way we disagree. And I want to continue to honour that, and thank you for it. And I want to thank you all for the input this last 12 months. And I can honestly say that each of you have contributed to making me a better person. And I think for the differences that you've made here in this chamber as well. I really acknowledge that. Now, councillors, if it felt like a challenging year of decisions, I absolutely agree. There's no doubt that the reforms of the Local Government Act 2020 have significantly updated and made much more transparent and contemporary the business of local government. But it's also created a big catch-up in policies and processes, strategies, and what might seem to be peripheral operations rather than the council business and operational decisions. In 3 terms and 10 years, I can reflect on this last year, I think has been significantly onerous on both councillors and officers as we've played catch-up with the Local Government Act 2020. So if it felt like it was busy, it was, in my experience. And I don't see that as bad, it's just what it is, and I reflect on it, for example, the deliberative engagement process that was a ground-up approach to the council plan. It was powerful and different, and we acknowledge that these are disruptive changes, but changes for the better, and in the future they will be easier. And the council officers had to learn that, and we had to learn it, and the community had to learn it, and it would be better and easier in future. They'll be easier in that good leadership is absolutely about empowerment, not about being overpowering. So we as community leaders hope to, and I hope to, empower our community through the likes of those deliberative processes that we've been exposed to. The deliberative process embedded our new culture is both empowering and brings diversity to the output that makes the likes of our council plan a better and more representative foundation for all our other decisions. It's also meant, as I said, a change up in the work of officers, and I must acknowledge their work and that of the executive leadership team, and also to you, Anthony, as a CEO. It's been a challenging year of recovery with intermittent disasters as well as implementation of that Local Government Act 2020. So nice job in leading your team. And I also wanted to thank you for your great work and support for me over a number of years as a councillor too. So there's no doubt since your employment as a CEO, you've been a great support for councillors, and I acknowledge that. But I now look ahead with great sense of optimism, as I said in my little pitch-up. It's my current word, I think. It's always important to reflect on the past, but where we're heading is the future, and that's where we've got to go. The future for us and our community must be on the thriving future that is resilient, well-prepared, responsive, able to recover and rebound from the travails we may face, but it will also capitalise on the opportunities ahead. we as a council cannot do everything that we would like to. We can't pick up the responsibilities of other tiers of government, and sometimes it feels like people want us to do that. But we can, as the most accessible level of government, be there to support our people, our cousins, our brothers, our sisters, our neighbours and families, whatever may be the windfall or the struggle. And I believe government of any tier is working best. This sounds strange, but government works best when you hardly know it's there. And that's the way I'd hope we can conceive of our shire. The 100 services, dozens of facilities, amenities, operations, and vast and diverse business of the shire work at the time, in the place and the level that's expected of our community. It is just there and it just works. It's said that happiness is the fit between expectation and experience, and I hope to ensure that we have high expectations that are matched by the experiences of our community. Councillors, I'm so grateful to be here, and I pledge to treat you all fairly, without fear or favour, with respect and accountability, and to ensure that your voices are heard equally and that you feel empowered to be your best. As the amazing Dylan Alcott describes, has anybody seen Dylan Alcott, heard him speak? I hope that we can be the best version of ourselves through working here together, and I hope that this shire can be the best version of itself as well. And I think it can be when we work together. Thank you, councillors. You didn't have the timer going? Thanks, CEO. Councillors, there's an opportunity if anybody else wants to say anything, and I'd certainly welcome that. Councillor Uri. I was going to say Mayor. Councillor Uri.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I think that obviously the two nominations for the Mayor are both very experienced, and I think that's telling that the group was looking in that direction for experience. So I've enjoyed listening to your speech and outlining how you see the future going forward. And we've had a little chance over the last day or so to speak about this as well. I think just reflecting on our community and where it's up to, there has been a focus on recovery and on where the problems are and who needs to be supported out of that. And I think that's been necessary, and it probably still will be necessary to continue to do that and to listen to our communities as individual communities and to see what the needs are. But I do like your sense of optimism. I think that at this particular point that will be a refreshing attitude, not just for the council group but for our community as well. I also liked your reference to the community vision, because that wasn't, we didn't come to that community vision lightly. It was done, as you mentioned, the deliberative engagement. So I think if we take that as true aspiration from our community, I think that will be a very good guide for us as we go forward. I also liked your mention of inclusion of everybody, and particularly of diverse people and groups in the community who might need special attention. I think that it's incredibly important not to leave anybody behind. So the more that we can do that, I think the absolute better, the better will be our community as a whole, learning to look after one another and finding a bright future together. And I also liked your notion of the council group as well, and the importance that you've placed on keeping the council group as a good working whole as well. And so I look forward to that. It has been a tricky year and a long year, and there has been a lot of work done. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more work to do between now and the end of the year even. There's a lot coming that we need to pay attention to. But I think if the council group is strong and confident about making good decisions, I think we'll do really well. So congratulations again. I really look forward to the next year.
Thanks, Mendy. Thanks for those great words. Councillors. Great. I'm happy to move on to the next phase then. So this is item 4, the election of the Deputy Mayor. So Council must decide by resolution to establish the office of Deputy Mayor. As outlined in Section 21 of the Local Government Act 2020, that Act, the Deputy Mayor must perform the role of the Mayor and may exercise any powers of the Mayor if the Mayor is unable to, for any reason, to attend a council meeting or part of a council meeting, or the Mayor is incapable of performing the duties of the office of Mayor for any reason, including illness, or the office of Mayor is vacant. So there's a recommendation, councillors, that Council resolves to have or not have the office of Deputy Mayor. Do I have a motion? Councillor Stowe.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. That's your first thank you, Mr Mayor, for the year. I'd like to move that we have the office of Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, councillor. Do we need a seconder for that, CEO, in this situation? We do need a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Van Diggle. So is the recommendation opposed? I think we can go through that process. Yes, is it opposed? Councillor Buckley. Thank you, Councillor Buckley. So we'll go into debate. So at this stage, would we normally do that in this situation? Yeah, sure. We'll follow the normal meeting procedure. So Councillor Stowe, would you like to talk to the motion?
Yes, I think it makes sense to formally have a position of Deputy Mayor, and we know who that is, and it's a person elected by us, by the group, and that person takes over in the absence of the Mayor. I don't think it's a good idea just to have an ad hoc where the Mayor says, oh, well, you can do it this time, you can do it the other time, and one person makes the decision. I like the idea of the group making a decision tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Van Diggle, did you want to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I think not having a deputy mayor has its merits as well, but I think it's easy for you to be able to delegate, and in the situation where something is in a geographical location or, you know, it suits someone's interest, you can obviously delegate to that individual. So, those are my thoughts.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Buckley, would you like to speak against the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. My position is that I believe it's a good idea for the Deputy Mayor's role to be distributed to all councillors so that they can get the opportunity to understand what that role is, and that would further their ability to potentially be nominated as a mayor in the future. So it shares the workload. The Deputy Mayor, if it's a singular person, this time will have a heavy weight placed on them, because I believe that, with all due respect, your workload will be compromising to your mayoral role, and you will have to distribute that workload. So I think that it would be better that it's distributed throughout the group than put on one person who will not have any remuneration for that position. They don't get paid anymore, and their work will be considerable. So I ask councillors to consider that it would be a better option to be able to distribute that workload throughout the whole councillor group.
Okay, thanks for those words, and thanks for the ongoing concern about my personal and my work life. Would anybody else like to speak for or against the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of having a mayor, deputy mayor, pardon me. Those against? The motion is carried. Council has resolved to elect a deputy mayor. So, before the election of the deputy mayor, Section 27 of the Act requires that Council determines the term of the office of the deputy mayor. However, Rule 5.5 of the East Gippsland Shire Council Governance Rules state that the term of the office of the Deputy Mayor is identical to the office of the Mayor. Section 27 of the Act requires the election of the Deputy Mayor to be conducted in the same manner as the election of the Mayor. Any councillor is eligible for election as Deputy Mayor. The Deputy Mayor must be elected by an absolute majority of all councillors. An absolute majority, as defined by Section 25(7) of the Act, means that the number of councillors which is greater than half of the total number of councillors of the council. Therefore, to be declared the Deputy Mayor, a nominee must receive 5 votes or more. I hope I didn't mangle that too much. The election of the Deputy Mayor will be conducted in accordance with the Rule 5 of the East Gippsland Shire Council Governance Rules. If there are more than 2 candidates and no candidate receives an absolute majority, the candidate with the fewest votes will be eliminated. The remaining candidates will be put to the vote again. This process will continue until there are 2 candidates, and the candidates with the absolute majority will be declared successful. And in the event that there are 3 candidates, each receiving 3 votes, then the candidate to be eliminated will be determined by a lot. All names will be placed in the barrel. I assume the barrel is here somewhere. There we are. Patricia's got it. Placed in the barrel, and the names drawn will be eliminated. The remaining 2 candidates will be then put to the vote. The successful candidate will have an absolute majority in accordance with Section 25 of the Act. So there's a process. So all voting will be by show of hands. There's no secret ballot. So I'll be calling for the nominations shortly, and as a guide, councillors may nominate themselves, and nominations do not require a seconder. So I now call for nominations. Councillor Van Dickel.
I, Councillor Van Dickel, nominate Councillor Allen for the position of Deputy Mayor of East Gippsland Shire Council.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, are there any other nominations? Councillor Greason.
I'll see if I can get it right this time. I, Councillor Greason.
Pardon me, sorry, there's a point of order here. Sorry, Patricia. We need a seconder. That's probably a good idea. Thank you, Patricia. Councillor Allen, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Sorry, Councillor Greason.
That's all right. I, Councillor Greason, nominate Councillor Crook for the position of Deputy Mayor of East Gippsland Shire Council.
Councillor Crook, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I accept that nomination. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations, councillors? So, we have 2 nominations for the councillor. Now, I'll now invite each nominated councillor in order of nomination to speak on the deputy mayoral position. I advise that each councillor, consistent with the governance rules, will have 5 minutes to speak. And the General Manager Business Excellence will again monitor the time. So, Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor Mark. Look, the Deputy Mayor's position is a very important one, and by definition, the Deputy is there to support the Mayor and to share the load when required. And I am in the fortunate position of having the time to commit to the position. And if I'm elected, I will strive to give the time and the commitment that the position requires for the good of our Shire and its residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Councillor Crook.
Thank you. Look, as I've said and maintain, I'm forever privileged to be here, and the opportunity to represent the community as a councillor even more so, and the prospect of being Deputy Mayor even more so again. We've many important tasks ahead of us as a council, and if I'm fortunate enough to be elected as Deputy Mayor, then I will support the Mayor as first among equals and see that he's supported to the best of my abilities, and that all our councillors' views and those of our various communities are listened to and acted upon to the greatest extent possible. Councillors, we have many important pieces of work in front of us already, and many more to come, including the rural land use strategy, where we really must protect the best of our prime farming land to secure our farming sector's productivity and curtail the impediments to its success. We must also ensure that new and emerging farming pursuits, including a seed innovation centre for Orbost, its wonderful black garlic, flower farms, and innovative farming solutions like them are allowed to prosper. Water security is becoming increasingly important to our region, especially for the irrigated farms, but also where groundwater is relied upon. Carbon sequestration, water retention in soils, and seeing farmers paid a premium for their products, carbon neutral and otherwise, are all areas I'm keen to see our council support. COVID recovery is obviously a huge challenge for our council and our communities in all its facets, and obviously a big body of work for us to readjust to COVID normal if there is such a thing. And of course, bushfire recovery, with so many of our communities still needing support. Much of this can come from our shire, but also our communities themselves, via our great variety of community groups and organisations, which, if elected as Deputy Mayor, I will thoroughly support. Groups such as the men's sheds, neighbourhood houses, traditional owner groups and sporting clubs. So, for me, the role of Deputy Mayor is not only about supporting the Mayor and representing our collective decisions and policies of our council, but also, and importantly, about making the most of what we have, ensuring we do it together, as a team, but also keeping an eye on the big picture, working with state and federal governments and others to ensure our communities are supported, working together and prosperous.
Thanks, Councillor. Thanks, both councillors. I'll leave that mask off for the moment. So, councillors, as we have received more than one nomination, I'll conduct a vote to determine the Deputy Mayor. I'll state each councillor's name in the order of nomination and ask councillors to indicate their vote by show of hands. Councillors, those in favour of Councillor Allen as Deputy Mayor. It looks like Councillor Allen, or I should actually put the vote as well. Those in favour of Councillor Crook. Councillor Allen, congratulations. You have been elected Deputy Mayor by a vote of 7-2.
Thank you, Mayor Mark, and thank you for those who have put faith in me. I hope I fulfil that. Thank you.
So following my running sheet, so I will state that I declare that Councillor Allen is duly elected as Deputy Mayor for East Gippsland Shire. Councillor Allen, I'd like to congratulate you, and I really will enjoy working with you, and I think that we have great convergence in our beliefs and values and how we can make this a great shire. So thank you so much. Councillor Crook, thank you for your nomination as well. I wish you well in the future. Would any other councillors like to make any comments or say anything on behalf of the election of Councillor Allen? Councillor Buckley. Councillor, you're muted. Sorry, that's the comments of the last 2 years, hasn't it, that line?
Yeah. Look, just for the record, I abstained.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. I appreciate you pointing that out, so my apologies. Councillor Crook.
I'd just like to congratulate Arthur. I think you'll do a great job and you have my full support.
Absolutely. Councillors. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Uri.
Congratulations, Arthur. It was wonderful having you. I know you weren't the Deputy Mayor last year when I was the Mayor, and Councillor Reeves did a great job in that role, but I know a number of times you accompanied me to Malakuta and things like that, and I can attest to the fact that you're always willing to go places, and I really appreciate the fact that you're so willing to be there for the community and to attend events, because I think the community really appreciate that. So congratulations in the role, and I look forward to the two of you working together.
Great words, thank you.
Thank you very much, both Mindy and Tom. And Tom, thank you for standing.
And councillors, they're really important words, Councillor Uri, that don't underestimate the importance the community takes or values or places on our attendance and being there. It's really amazing, and it's a little bit overwhelming as a first-time councillor to understand that. Councillors, that concludes the statutory meeting tonight, and we will now close the meeting at 6:49. And thank you all for your participation, and thank everyone who has. We hope there's somebody in the outside world who's been watching. And Councillor Buckley, we wish you well, and thanks for joining us tonight. And nice to see Lake Omeo with water in it.